Attunement is fundamentally about matching our energy with the people that we're with. If you're getting sad, then I might attune to you. It doesn't mean that I'm going to get sad, but I might slow down my conversation. I might slow down the pace of my words. I might pause. I might maybe check in. I might just notice, maybe consider adjusting topic. If you're getting excited, I might find myself revving up and like matching your vibe. A lot of the harm that my clients have done in the world, because I work with clients who have done harm and I help them use that as an opportunity for transformation, has to do with a failure in key moments to attune. If, say, sharing sexual energy with someone and I'm like, you know what, this isn't feeling right. I'd like to pause or slow down or talk about it. Like, I don't feel right in my body. There's something about the way that you're in your body that doesn't feeling right. Like, energies aren't really synced in the right way that feels good. I can't read you right now. Oh, so healthy. So healthy to just kind of like de-escalate or take the interaction into whatever way it needs to go rather than going into the automated motions.
What is attunement as far as you're defining it?
Well, attunement is such a beautiful word. Um, have you ever had a moment where you're cuddling with someone or you're holding someone and they start to run sexual energy
Mm-hmm.
and it's not what you want?
Mm-hmm.
That's the opposite of attunement.
Okay.
Um, I use that example because attunement is fundamentally about matching our energy with the people that we're with. If you're getting sad, then I might attune to you. It doesn't mean that I'm going to get sad, but I might slow down my conversation. I might slow down the pace of my words. I might pause. I might maybe check in. I might just notice. Consider adjusting topic. Excited, I might find myself revving up and like matching your vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I might find myself getting excited, but then if I see that you're not being able to match me, I might slow down a little bit to make sure that you're with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's attunement in conversation, in business dynamics, certainly in sex and romance. And we're like you could imagine musicians jamming with each other really beautifully, and like, ooh, yeah, they're vibing. They're all kind of like flowing with each other. That's a beautiful example of attunement. Traffic, where all the cars are like being really respectful and moving in unison, versus one car that's like, like riding everybody and then like moving around them and like right. Um, a lot of the harm that my clients have done in the world, because I work with clients who have done harm and I help them use that as an opportunity for transformation, has to do with a failure in key moments to attune, to notice, ooh, this person's going into a trauma response that I'm in bed with, or to notice, I've been dominating the conversation in this business meeting. I always do. Everybody around me is annoyed. Or I just said something that was really hurtful and the person didn't tell me, so I don't know, right? But because I'm not attuning, I'm not noticing, I'm not observing the people around me, I'm not observing their body language.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Attunement is also attunement to self, right? You can definitely be attuned to yourself or not. You could be, ooh, am I someone who notices when my heart increases? Am I someone who notices, like, can I cultivate the ability to notice when, ooh, I'm uncomfortable right now, I'm scared. Can I name that to myself at least? Really, it's really a skill that we're not often taught, to notice and name our internal sensations, and how those correspond to external dynamics. Yeah, you asked how I learned it. There was no school. I wish there was an attunement school. I wish it was taught in school. You know, I I'm a little on the spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
and most of my clients are too. It's pretty normal at this point to be abnormal. But yeah, attunement has always been really hard for me,
Hmm.
really consciously, and I'm still learning it. I'm still not perfectly attuned. I know some people who I feel like my story about them is like this person is just like naturally like one of the most attuned people, and who like right, and like
Hmm.
everybody likes this person, and not just because they're like out and gregarious, but because they can match vibes. They can be slow, they can be fast, they can be intense, they can be vulnerable. Like people really feel comfortable around them.
Hmm.
They're really naturally good at being with. So that's the real answer. I'm going to stop talking in a sec.
No, you're good.
Attunement is the art of truly being with another.
Hmm.
Communication, the quality of your presence. Attunement.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because that word has been coming up in my consciousness and my field, my people, all of that word has come up a lot for me more recently is feeling very accurate of what you just described, of that presence with somebody, but it is more than being even present with them. It's this, for me, it's almost a sense of being tapped into them, but allowing them to tap into me at the same time.
That's lovely. That's a lovely way of saying it.
Thank you. Um, and it makes me think as you were talking to, I think the word empath gets thrown around a lot, but for people who are, I would say, outward focused sometimes, right? There can be almost like a lostness of self in that, right? Where there's almost an attune or a disattunement from oneself, right? Where it's like we are so in other people's feelings and emotions and ups and downs that like we kind of lose a sense of our own self and we kind of just feel discombobulated or disconnected. And then there's that, honestly, the other extreme where it's like we're fully in ourselves, we aren't connected to anybody else. And you mentioned like the car going out, and I think a lot about the festival scene and raves, and like it's really interesting because you can tell often when it's somebody's first time at a rave, particularly if they've had a lot of alcohol, because they are not attuned with the rest of the group. They are trying to mosh when everybody's trying to vibe, right? Or they're trying to be very proactive in some way where everybody else is like, well, we're in this mode right now, but you're in that mode right now, and we're not in the same wavelength, which is really interesting to me because I know one of the things that happens with music is that, like, at least at a concert, like everybody's brainwaves sync up, for example. So it pulls us into the sense of attunement and oneness and interconnectedness, right? So yet we can still be kind of disconnected from that in one way, shape, or form, which I think is fascinating.
Totally. And I mean, I've noticed that like one of the ways that like I manage, especially in like broad social situations, is I'm conscious of a meta level. Like, am I vibing with the people around me, or it's like, oh, maybe right now this isn't actually the vibe. This isn't right for me. And like sometimes, I think like like experienced partiers, especially like, and I don't party very much anymore, but like experienced partiers, I found I've always found it reassuring when I'm with someone who's like, you know what, I'm gonna go off and do my own thing for a little while. Like I'm right. Like
Mm-hmm.
a kind of uncharitable way of saying that is like I'm not willing to attune to you all.
Yeah.
That is saying like I'm actually finding that my vibe is taking me over here, and like
Mm-hmm.
it's not actually aligned for me to work to attune to your energy. Like I'm actually like this isn't.
Yeah.
Right. I've seen this done very responsibly and beautifully in sexual scenarios as well,
Mm.
where like, and such a reassuring evidence of someone with a healthy sense of their own sexual abundance and their own boundaries, and they're like attuned to self.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if um, if say I'm sharing sexual energy with someone and I'm like, you know what, this isn't feeling right.
Hmm.
Pause or slow down or talk about it. Like I don't feel right in my body. There's something about the way that you're in your body that doesn't feeling right.
Hmm.
Like our energies aren't really synced in the right way or in a way that feels good. Um, like I can't read you right now. Like, oh, so healthy to just kind of like de-escalate or take the interaction into whatever way it needs to go,
Yeah.
rather than going into the automated motions of, yeah, you know. So
Yeah.
this applies to across genders. This is something that I think is such an important skill.
Yeah. Is there a way to develop that skill? Do you use any particular practices, or do you guide anything like with your clients through that exactly?
So many. There. Here's a couple off the top, and I'm gonna orient like one for men like me who dominate conversations. The practice is to, especially with women or people of different genders, um, the practice is to leave 5 times longer pauses. It's fascinating to see how many people who are used to dominating conversations like it will instinctually fill the gaps of conversation, where people who are maybe communicate in different ways and different cadences or feel less confident just occupying space and maybe want to see if the person they're with really wants to hear from them will wait for a little bit more space to then fill it. So like longer pauses. So great because it gives you an opportunity, if you're used to talking and filling in those pauses with words, to observe my body, your body. What are you doing with your arms? Are they crossed like this? Is this person's energy shrunk up? Are they leaning forward? Are they looking around? Am I noticing that I'm looking around? You know, am I rushing in my cadence? Am I fidgeting? Right? Is there something that I might ask this person that I haven't? Am I filling too much of the space just with my own thoughts?
Yeah.
That's just one example. Yeah, how did that land?
Yeah, I thought it was beautiful. I mean, it really reminded me of one of the best lessons I learned in sales was to pause after you're done talking. A lot of salespeople, when they, when you sell, it's you, especially when you're early on, you feel this nervous energy about, are they going to buy this thing from me or whatever it is. And you can take that silence or that pause where they're literally just thinking and processing, or maybe giving you the opportunity to, fumble over yourself as well. But giving that pause and letting that awkward pause, I find, go, often reveals like the real thing that is the objection, if you will, right? That thing that they're actually concerned about, or literally they just talked themselves into the sale because they just needed to verbally process it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, create that space for them, you'll never get there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even something that I've learned from conversation. I'm thinking about my friend Ben when I was in a leadership program with him, and that was something that he, I think, taught me and taught all of us really well, was like, let the awkward pause be there, because that's where like the real listening is. It's like if you can just hang in there for that extra like 1 second of discomfort and then see what they say, like you will
Yeah,
get
yeah,
so much deeper with somebody than to just fill the void automatically.
yeah.